And good evening, everyone. Wherever you are, it could be good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We always have fun with that. But I also want to thank all the goodly beings that are joined us this evening for another episode of the Pagan 2 of 365 we're going to do this year. Yes, it's going to be a daily broadcast. I'm setting it. And people have asked me why have I gone back to do a daily broadcast. And that is because I want to deeply explore the pagan community, share some of my insights, but more importantly, I want to be able to hear you and hear you better and to get some answers from the community about what they are conceiving. And I think this year, more than any other year that we've ever faced, I think we have the best opportunity to make significant advancements in those things we keep saying we want. And what are those things we want? Better community, if you've been to my page, you know that we've been talking heavily about the idea of different forms of structures we can have in our community. And one that's come up to the top is a mutual aid society. The mutual aid societies um, that have been part of the United States and for a very long time. And so some people have a reason why they're not there as much as they were, but maybe something we need to go back to. So a lot of pagans are talking about maybe the idea of a mutual aid society. And we're talking about that in Chicago. We're seeing it in other spaces. Um, Mother Grove God, Grove Goddess, Mother Goddess Grove, with Byron Ballard's group down there in Asheville, North Carolina, has got a great one. They got not only a temple, but they've got a full food bank. And more important, they served through the entire Helena mess, the hurricane that hit 2 years ago, and they're still not seeing much aid, much help. But their mutual aid organization down there has been really significant in the ways that they function. So we're talking about that at A. Hubbard. I'll cover more of that because we're exploring things. That's on Facebook. At A. Hubbard's the number one place I've been speaking these days. And I have a lot of great people out there talking about. But tonight we're going to talk about attention. So let me get into attention really quick. Attention is a new fuel for all businesses, for all places. People are now realizing they need attention to have a significant impact in things. That's it. Attention is what we give and always has given to what we're doing ahead of ourselves. And the value of that attention has always been on focus. People who pay attention to their work, to their art, to their making stone axes, sculptures, and all of that was significant because their attention was focused. Still technically is. And that they would do things. If you fell in love, you focused or gave attention to your beloved, the one that you're chasing, and sometimes in significant ways. Attention is now that fuel. So, what are we all looking for? We're all looking for a certain amount of affection and attention. Uh, I can't separate those two ideas out. I tried to, and many people do. And there's all sorts of people who do that. But attention is the number one thing. And being able to tell your own story. Now, it may sound like, the United States and some of the great empires built when they had a single creed or message or a common homogeny that was forced upon people, even if it wasn't fair, even if it was absolutely corrupt. People like to have stability, they like to know that things will change. People will take a terrible situation and survive in it than risk the unknown of trying to improve it. There's a deep mental place in the American mind, and I've seen it in the European mind, not in the African nations and the philosophies I've seen there, not South Africa, but definitely in our more European mindset, is the idea that there's a deeper hell. No matter what we're doing, if we fail, if we quit, if we back off, we might fall to a deeper hell. And that's why we are always so working and so important. But attention now is how we get our messages out, how we get our ideas out, how do we share resources? It's through where we spend attention. And the more attention we spend in somewhere, the better it becomes. And now we've gotten to the point where we need attention in our media. Our media will preserve us more than anything else. If we have pagan media, we have a way of getting our message out to the people. Maybe it won't make a difference, maybe it will. But also, when we get our media out, our journalists, our literature out, we're also forming history. We're taking and making an effect on history. Who doesn't want to make an effect on history? Well, a lot of people. Some people just want to go home, live their lives. That's the majority of people. Or you got people like me who are just wanting to make a change in the world for the better. And for me, the better is having a faith that believes in the green world. I rather spend time trying to make a better world out of the green world, nature, Mother Nature, than I would throughout, say, a dangerously uh, a dangerous factory or anything else like that. I would rather plant trees than build factories. Now I've built factories. I've helped actually build real factories. I built a candle factory. Um, Mike had Mike Cosmic Candles had 2 patents on candle making that he got. One utility and one scientific. And so it's very interesting to be involved with that. And I don't mind small factories. I don't mind technology. I actually love it, adore it, and think it has a lot to do with it. But now it's attention. And so one of the things we did with the attention is I went ahead and Spiral Moon Media. Great project. Most of you have never ever heard of it. Spiral Moon Media. And they're beginning to try to adapt their concepts to it. And I had a great chance to interview Janet Callahan. And so I'm so happy. I am going to bring you that report. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ed and Don Show, where we're going to talk about all things pagan, culture, and anything that affects the community. And one of the most important things about our community is the ability to communicate. And the ability to communicate is a very difficult process. It can be costly, it can be expensive, it could be wrong, it could be in the hands of other people, it could be sent in mainstream media. But a few of us and do an amazing job trying to create our own network so that we can have our own discussions in our own ways. Janet Callahan is one of the culture builders behind Spiral Moon TV, Spiral Moon Media, and works out of Michigan to create Semaphore News and a bunch of media tools that are in the hands of the community. And I'm so welcome. I want to welcome her to our show. Hi, and
Hi.
welcome. Can you describe a little bit of what you're doing in the media? Can you describe this?
So we have as Spiral Moon Media, we have sort of a wide range of media outlets.
Mm-hmm.
We have TV that's on Roku and on YouTube and Twitch, and we broadcast some things on Facebook and whatnot, and of course on our website. We have a radio station, Pagan Public Radio. We have a podcasting network, and we have a publishing house. We have a news channel um, that is really specifically right now to Southeast Michigan. So it's local pagan news.
Mm-hmm.
And we broadcast every week. And then we also have written articles that come out off and on, depending on what's going on in the community.
So right away, where do people contact you, or where do people find this? So let's go ahead and start with that.
There are lots of places to find all that, but probably your easiest is either spiralmoontv.com or spiralmoon.org in general.
Okay, and that gives everybody this. So that's basically it. So, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with this media group? What is it that's your mission of it? Does it have a unified mission?
So our goal, I think, in general, is that there isn't a lot of media out there that's publicly available, right? If you go on Roku, there's 50 million TV channels, probably literally. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an exaggeration. Um, you can go find Christian TV shows. You can go find Christian TV stations,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can go find any kind of religion you want. But if you go search for pagan TV, you get Sabrina the Teenage Witch,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like a lot of us like Sabrina. A lot of us like those shows that have been made over the years that are sort of pagan adjacent, but they're not pagan. What
Hmm.
I want to see is more media that is ours, that we've made for ourselves, that reflects our values and reflects our community. We aren't in control of what gets said on TV shows that are made by mainstream media.
Let me take that a little farther. We're not in control of any media, regardless if it's mainstream, independent, religiously programmed, that we don't actually own.
Right.
And even then, my own Roku channel was taken off the air because it violated trademarks. It violated, they claimed we were violating terms of service. That happened in the middle of the parliament. So even with utilizing services, you have to be very careful because
Hmm.
we don't own any of it.
Exactly.
Um,
And we're not necessarily big enough to have that fight either, right?
right. Hmm. Because I saw the same thing. This was back at the parliament. And what they did is somebody made a claim against one of our shows, the Comic Church, and said that we were violating trademark and that they wanted it removed. So we removed the show, but Roku removed the entire channel.
Hmm.
And so I'm in
And
process.
that's like that's true of all social media, right? If we don't
Mhm.
own that network, then they get to make the rules and they get to change the rules. If they decide tomorrow that they don't want pagans on their network, on their site, on their TV stations, poof, we're gone. Unless our community controls those things, we can't guarantee anything. And that's part of why we have so many options set up for our stuff is I can't guarantee that Roku's not going to shut us down tomorrow,
No.
right? Um, and to get on other platforms is equally challenging and
Mhm.
even more expensive. So unless we own the app, we don't have a starting point, and unless we own the network, we don't have any guarantees.
And I agree with that. People don't understand. We rent Facebook.
Hmm.
We rent MySpace.
Hmm.
People don't remember it. MySpace was huge. Everybody thought it was going to last forever. They got sold $600 million into News Corp,
Exactly.
and then it disappeared. Yahoo Groups, I remember that, has now disappeared.
LiveJournal still exists, but it's run by the Russians,
Yeah,
you know?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Um, so we're constantly seeing these systems. Great, we put a lot of materials on them, um, and move off. I mean, so the one project that I've been involved with that I started and now sent in other people's hands is Witch School. We own that site.
Hmm.
Only thing that we actually owned online. Everything else was that, and we've had our own battles. But you have taken on this sort of media first presentation. What led you to do that?
Um, to be honest, it was sort of a side quest that came up
Mm-hmm.
that has sort of taken on a life of its own. Um, Somebody posted in one of our local Facebook groups, like, hey, how come there isn't pagan TV? I was like, that's an interesting question. And like, I'm one of those people who once I fall down a rabbit hole, I got to find a bottom of it somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm just going to keep looking. So I did. I went out, I searched around, found a couple channels. Nobody knew that they existed. Like we had that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started looking at it. And I'm like, what does this really take? What does it take to have our programming, our media, our networks? We have some publishers out there, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
Llewellyn, we have Red Wheel Weiser, we have a few others, a few smaller ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, we don't have any podcast networks really. We've had some people try to get them started, but they've been Facebook groups, not actual podcast sites with podcasts. We've had lots of people on YouTube, but again, we don't own YouTube. It's not all in one
Mm-hmm.
place. You have to know what you're looking for to find anything. So,
Um,
I got interested in the details of how you make it work. how do we get on Roku? How do we get on Amazon? How do we get on Fire TV, right? And the more I learned about it, the more I realized it was both far more simple and far more complex than anybody had sort of expected. The people who originally brought up the concept were like, if there was a pagan TV station, I would make content for it. They do not make content for it.
No.
Just saying. Um, but then it became a challenge because when the first thing broke, I had to figure out how to fix it. And then the next thing and the next thing. I'm an engineer and I'm Capricorn, so
Mhm.
take it all with a grain of salt, right? But that's what I do. I solve problems.
And there you go. Having my own experiences, I sit on thousands and thousands of hours of programming. Um, Radio, podcast. We had a 10-year podcast going for a while. And then Blog Talk Radio changed. And that changed us. And anyone who didn't take their shows off of it lost them. So I've seen people lose their content as well. Um, I'm an advocate for a central repository, but nobody's really interested. So how do you get people interested? I mean, the most difficult thing I find is that how do you get attention? Because attention is the currency of the day.
So that's something that I've struggled with a little bit. Um, and to some extent, I think it's a me problem, right? It's a personality problem, not a can't do it problem. Um, because I'm not typically the most out there, outgoing person who's just gonna like walk up to random people and say, "Hey, I have a TV channel. Do you watch it?"
Hmm.
Um, so what we've been talking about this year has been how do we do more advertising?
Hmm.
How do we do more advertising without spending a small fortune? Spiral Moon is a pretty small organization, all things considered, and this is a pretty big percentage of our budget. So we can't throw thousands and thousands of dollars at ads. Um,
And it doesn't work the way it is. So
right.
as a person who spent probably in the area of $300,000 worth of advertising over the last 30 years, done them all. The problem is that one algorithms always work against us because we are not showing, in my opinion, we're not always showing. Because people don't know what they're asking for. But at the same time, the algorithm's buried under the people who do pay for advertising. Uh, we built I was a very early Google person. I was like there on the day one. And only reason I did as well as I've done is that I was there day one. There's the first mover's advantage,
Mhm.
but you can lose it. Um, but now we're seeing lots of pagans. So I'm looking at Generation Z. And they have gotten more attention to their own selves than anyone else ever has. I mean, I'm looking at pages 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, Hoodwitch, a million. And a lot of the older pagans are having answers. Why are they getting the attention? Why are they being paid attention to?
Because
Why
they
is
understand how the algorithm works.
um and they also don't realize the algorithm has changed.
Right.
There used to be something called the social algorithm, right? And if you had
Mhm.
followers, everybody would see that. And then you would be a certain amount. Well, today, TikTok brought in something called the interest algorithm that everybody else is going to. And they're going to try matching you up with things that you're interested in. So if you want to find things that are pagan, you have to look up things that are pagan and you have to click on them.
Yep.
So,
It's how long did you watch it? How many other videos of that person did you go back and watch?
and they will feed that to you.
Hmm.
And they will do it much more rapidly than it happens. So this means I have 100,000 people and I used to get lots of it. Why did it drop off? Well, you might not be interesting. And I think that's the other side of the problem, isn't it? You have to be interesting. You have to really give them something they want. Can you talk about that? Well, like what
So,
type of programming do you have right now?
so right now, that's actually one of our challenges, right?
Mhm.
It's sort of a chicken and egg problem. You don't get viewers because you don't have enough content. You don't have enough content because you don't have viewers. So you can't argue that people should jump in and join you. And I'm sure you're familiar with that problem, right?
Hmm.
So we have some pagan parenting content. We have some meditation content made by one local group here. They have a wildlife sanctuary and they went out and videoed stuff.
Hmm.
We have some content about local events, and we have a couple of things from local groups beyond Spiral Moon about their organization. Um, our goal now is to go out and find more content and to bring people in to participate with that. We also have the Pagan World Congress
Hmm.
that we're getting put into the video on demand portion of our site right now. But we broadcast a lot of that as a live feed at some point in the last few weeks too. So, like, I think that's the first thing is is we have to bring in content. And
Hmm.
so our theory has been we start with people who have YouTube content and we're going to go talk to them and see how we bring them in, right? Um, we we have all these great plans for what would be really cool content. We just don't have people to make the content.
And so, what do you need? So, I'm listening to this, and Spiral Moon is it spiralmoontv.com?
Hmm.
Make sure you get it right. Check it out. Um, right, and you're checking it out, and you've got some of this great video. But you talk about being payment. You have to pay for a lot of this.
Yep.
Even, editor programs, even if it's free to broadcast, like on YouTube, there's still a lot of cost involved.
There's still costs involved on the back end. There's server costs and
Hmm.
accounts that require payment. Yeah.
Um, and Roku's not free, right? For you?
Roku is free.
To the audience.
Getting the app listed is free, but getting the app is not necessarily free.
Hmm.
Like that's the kick. That's the kicker.
Gotcha. And I've been noticing it's changed since I was involved with it.
Like they
Um,
changed a whole bunch of things last year, them and Amazon both, that made it a lot harder, but a lot easier.
hmm.
Amazon used to have a thing where you could give them your link to your feed, your
Hmm.
RSS link, and Amazon would generate an app for you. Amazon will no longer do that. So now you have to pay somebody to make an app. They
Yep.
have an app kit, but their kit is 10 years old.
Hmm.
It's not even compliant with their own stuff anymore.
And so it sounds like you need volunteers
Hmm.
to kind of do this work, to do the scheduling, to do all of this, to create content. And they have to do it on their own dime for the biggest part,
Yep.
right? Because they don't have the financing. So how are you planning to continue this?
And if we could get somebody who really understands how ads work, I have an account for Google to set up ads, interim ads on videos so that we would get paid for videos that show on our Roku channel. What I haven't figured out yet is how to make it actually work. Like it's
Mm,
another rabbit hole, right? It's all
yep.
it's all a rabbit hole, a different rabbit hole. It's something that I haven't gone down that rabbit hole to go figure out yet.
So I'm going to switch out. So now, let me go ahead and talk about it. Do you sell advertising?
We do.
And so people can contact you to advertise their shops, their things, and
Mhm.
your services.
In fact, that's one of our goals is we want to get a series of shows that are pagan shops, basically like pagan home shopping.
Hmm.
Show us what's in your shop. Tell us what's on sale. Put your QR code on there so people can scan it and go shop at your shop.
And that's going to become, well, people don't realize it, but yesterday they were getting numbers is that it's like $10.4 billion was in a single day was done online.
Yeah.
And a lot of shops are in trouble because they don't have online components. They don't have online advertising. And everybody's going, oh, we need more shops and we need more local.
We've never needed more shops, I don't think. In all my time in our community, there have always
Hmm.
been shops. The question is, number one, does the community support the shop enough to keep it open? And number two, does the shop provide what the community is interested in enough to keep it open?
And I will tell you the inevitable pattern. I've been involved in a lot of shops. A few shops survive
Hmm.
because they pay attention to those rules. But the majority of them, and I will tell you, I've calculated out more than $200 million have been sent to the drain of these shops because I buy and sell liquidation.
Yep.
I especially love buying and selling liquidation of the occult, metaphysical, pagan, and all of that. Where I end
Hmm.
up getting buying a dime on a dollar and something just good
Exactly.
material because
Exactly.
they couldn't survive. And it's because they fall into niches, they fall into community problems.
They
But
haven't done the
most,
research to see what their community actually already has. I talk to people who are like, well, I can't find a shop, so I'm thinking about opening one. And I'm like, there are there are 20 shops in Metro Detroit. How can you not find a shop?
and so through television, through communication systems,
Hmm.
you can kind of bring them in because the truth is, most people who do shops are passion oriented.
Hmm.
Um, because last year I ran a shop called Gaia Thrift, which is a platform. And after 1 year, a little more than a year, we closed it. And people asked me, why did I close it? And I said, oh, it didn't make economic sense. And
Yep.
people are looking at me all the time and said, what do you mean? Well, we couldn't sell enough goods based on our square footage to meet the bills. And so we were going to look for a larger space. And people I've talked to who have had the shop, what do you mean by that? Turnover and things like that. Most people who start these shops don't have any training in business. They're doing it
Right.
on that. And then they undercapitalize.
And there's this assumption that they don't have to advertise.
Mm-mm.
Like we see that a lot. Like I've gotten, so I run a business networking group here too.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through a period in the last like 3 years where every week there would be some new shop that we accidentally found on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, I should never be accidentally finding your new shop. But number two, if I'm only accidentally finding it and I'm looking for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm accidentally finding your grand opening, how do you think anybody's going to show up?
And so a reason for us to have our own communications, our own reasons to have these tools is so that we can identify
Exactly.
those things to create it. Because people don't realize, I've done calculations, I have videos from 5, 6 years ago. We're seeing it now, that the pagan community has an annual activity of more than 2 billion, maybe even more, worth of
There's a
activity.
ton of money.
But most of that money is going to Amazon,
Mhm.
to other sort of big box shops, or a handful of stores are doing well. I mean, Azure Green is still out there supplying. Um, there's Phoenix and Dragon out of Atlanta, who's been there for
There's
decades.
shops that have been around forever, and they probably will continue to be forever.
Hmm.
The first shop I went to in St. Louis when I was first introduced to the community had already been there 10 or 12 years, I think, maybe
Hmm.
longer. And it's still there. So it's, 40 years old.
Hmm.
But I've seen dozens and dozens of shops come and go in the 25 years I've lived here in Detroit.
In Chicago, we have the occult. They're called now the Cult Society. They just made a transition to be more relevant. They're the oldest cult shop in America. Every other shop in Chicago is come and gone, except and then
Hmm.
there's Augustine's on the south side, which is uh, African American oriented, African based, and it's been there 45, 50 years because they know their customers.
Exactly.
But beyond that, no, they don't make it. I mean, we've got a new one that's become hybrid. So a lot of these new businesses are becoming hybrid. We have the Malloway Brothers, which is Cross Point, Cross Crow Publishing. There it is.
Hmm.
And they've taken on a great. I want to commend them because they've taken on something. And I want in my next interview, I want to cover publishing, but they are doing things like republishing books that have gone out of copyright,
Hmm.
Mhm. Or that the authors, and because today's systems are different.
Exactly.
Um, so creating content. Now, how do you? So this can be a lot. Let me ask you one more question. What do you think about what's this oncoming AI?
I think AI has its uses. I have some concerns about the environmental impacts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure where the balance point is. We've used it for some things. We've experimented with it. Um, it is not always, it doesn't give the results I really, really, really want. in most
Hmm.
cases. But for small things, it works well, right? You have to know how to talk to it. You have to know how to get what you're trying to get from it. And then you have to double check everything it does. It has its pluses and minuses,
Mm.
right? Like, I think people are going to use it. I don't think it's going away.
Oh no.
I think we have to understand how to use it and how to best use it.
And people don't realize it's already being used. If you're
Hmm.
seeing this on Facebook, even if we didn't use any AI, which we're not going to, in this new series, it's still there in the algorithms. It's still building.
Well, and AI is like, in some respects, it simplifies it overly much, but it's true. AI is just like word prediction on your phone, just a little smarter. It's not very smart. It's just a little smarter. Um, in my day job as an engineer, we're expected to use it. It's on our performance reviews. Did you use AI? Did you find a way to use AI to make your job easier? Right. And I absolutely have done that work, but sometimes the answers it gives are not useful at all. And you have to know enough to know whether or not the answer it gave you is useful, which I
And
think is
so,
the skill, right? It's just like using a calculator. Back in the day, people used to always tell us not to use calculators because we wouldn't know whether or not the answer was right. Now nobody thinks twice about using a calculator, but you still have to know how to use it and how the answer should look, right?
and so that's very interesting. So when people are creating content, they don't need to shy away from AI. It's so much as make sure it's accurate for you.
Like, I think you can tell when, like most things, I think you can tell when AI wrote them. I really do. I've worked with some folks on grant proposals, and they've brought grant proposals that are just a hair off the mark. And you know
Hmm.
it's because the system didn't understand what they were asking for.
That's interesting. So you want real content from real people to talk about their stories.
Yep.
And you want to see that on
Hmm.
spiralmoontv.com. Let's go ahead and put that out there. And you can and through that you can trace everything else that you're doing with your Media Group.
Yep.
So my last question is, what do you need from the larger community? I
So I
mean,
think two things, right? We need people to go watch our stuff.
okay.
Go subscribe, go like, go add the Roku channels. We got three of them. Um, but then also, like, everybody knows somebody who is making videos. Everybody knows somebody who knows a particular topic. Like we've talked about, wouldn't it be cool to have a pagan gardening channel? Somebody who actually knows how to garden and how to use magic to do it. Wouldn't it be cool to have a kitchen witch cooking show,
Hmm.
right? There are so many things we could do. You know people who have those skills. You know people who you think should be on TV. So go find them for us. I can't be everywhere. I don't know everyone. Our community isn't that small anymore.
And also realize that the community is not as big as people think it is.
It's not, but it's also not as small as people think it is.
Right. So it is valuable. It has great value to it.
Mm.
And there's big concentrations that people don't know. I mean, I've gone to so many events where I meet people from my local area, but I had to go halfway across the country to go meet them for the first time. That's why we like festivals and conventions.
Some friends of mine own a shop out in West Michigan, and I was there the weekend they opened. They're in the middle of nowhere. The town is maybe a couple thousand people.
Hmm.
They're like an hour outside of Chicago. Somebody walked in that day that I was there and to look for a tarot card, and it was somebody they knew from in town. They wanted a new tarot deck. And they were like, oh, well, we're going to have rituals here, blah, blah, blah. And that lady was like, well, we already have a ritual group. We meet out in the woods. And they're like, what do you mean they're like, first of all, we didn't know that you were into this stuff. Second of all, what do you mean there's a whole group of people here?
And that's it. So why do you want to support spiralmoontv.com and spiralmoon.org as a whole is because you're really in the connection business.
Exactly.
And so that's what we need you to. You have the last word?
Um, I think that there are so many cool ideas out there, and there's room for all of us. There's room for multiple radio stations, multiple TV stations, multiple, like, there are multiple publishers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we need to support our own media and our own shops and our own communities so that we have those resources. It doesn't have to be just one.
One. So there you go. Thank you, my lady Callahan. And thank you for being with us. And we'll be having more with her as we build the show. And I hope that you will listen to this show and find other shows through us and find ways to communicate through our community. And with that, blessed be.
It's me.
And there we go. Um, there we go. And that was our interview. I hope that you enjoyed it. We're going to continue on processes. So, one of the things that was in there that became to light to me is that not only there's a lot of ways to connect and to be part of things and to be in there, and please join us in our conversations. We're going to have them over at facebook.com/Ed Hubbard. I'll have more information today. We're talking about the idea of mutual aid societies. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about Danville with Reverend Don Lewis and Reverend Jason High Corral. And so they're going to be my guests tomorrow. I think that I have my interviews with them. And I think it's going to be very interesting to hear their point of view and the steps we're taking towards a campus. Canvas, I was going to say, art, beauty. What is a canvas in that aspect? A metaphysical canvas. Um, to them. Remember, CorellianPublishing.com is a sponsor of this. They help us stay on the air. And so consider going there to look at the books we carry, including my very own How to Win Witch Wars Defense Manual. Well, that's it, folks. Enjoy, and we will be back tomorrow.